After working hard the majority of the summer, we finally decided to take a break. The weather had gotten warm enough, about 80 degrees. We decided to take him up to this high alpine lake. It's maybe the elevation about 3,000, 3,500 feet, something like that. So it is a little bit colder up here, but the water was warm enough to swim in and able to stand in it without getting too cold. And so this was Jackson's very first swim, very first time he'd ever been in the water. We brought his very favorite squeaky toy and kind of had to throw him in a few times just to get his feet wet so he would understand that it wasn't dangerous and that this was supposed to be a fun adventure. But after a while, he really picked up on it super quick. He's almost like a natural. I guess miniature Australian Shepherds probably really like the water. So he just picked right up on it and started swimming on his own and with not much coaxing. But he did start to get cold or nervous or something because he was shaking. So eventually we did have to leave. But I think Jaxson really enjoyed his very first swim session. And I think we'll probably be back to this lake many times to take Jaxson for a little swim and get some exercise and get familiar with the water. This was the first time Jaxson actually jumped into the water on his own without us having to start him off and get him to start swimming. He started swimming on his own and swam all the way out to the ball and pushed it around with his nose a few times, then got it in his mouth and swam all the way back to shore on his own. So it was pretty cool to see him be able to advance that quickly in just one swim session. Looks like Jaxson has found a bug in between the pallet porch and the foldable houses. That's one thing he loves to do, is play with bugs and eat bugs. But anyways, I wanted to give you an update on the garden and the plants that we had around the homestead. This is late July and everything is turning green and the garden is looking pretty healthy. You know, there's not a lot of bugs, it doesn't look like, or anything like that. The only thing we had a problem with was the mice, it turns out, were coming in at nighttime and starting to eat all of my plants. I had a few seedlings I was trying to get up and going and they mowed them right down, and they also mowed down a whole bunch of my marigolds I had planted from seedlings. And they were just slowly attacking the whole entire garden. So once we found out what it was, we thought it was squirrels at first. We don't really get rats. But then we ended up finding a part of the raised garden bed that had been chewed all the way through the filter the mesh that we had put into the raised garden beds, and we figured, wow, that's got to be mice that are digging holes into the sides of the garden beds. So we put a live trap out in the garden, and sure enough, that first night we put 2 live traps, and we caught a mouse in each of the live traps. So once we put the live traps in there, the garden started really doing better. At least we were making some progress and starting to see some things like these strawberries. These are some ever-bearing strawberries, so they're really tiny strawberries, but they started to produce. It was kind of like a nice little treat. Every time I'd go out to the garden, I could eat a fresh strawberry. It definitely wasn't enough for putting away for later or anything like that. It was just every once in a while you get a fresh strawberry. And I had some mint. The mint really did well. We collected quite a bit of mint to put in smoothies and make special drinks out of during the summertime when it was so hot. Probably the thing that did the best was the tomatoes. I bought some early girl tomatoes, and those came on real well, and they tasted really good. And then it turns out a lot of my tomato plants that I had started as seedlings and that I had bought from the market were yellow/orange tomatoes, and those turned out good. The problem with those is they never really started producing tomatoes until late, so like just now, the end of July, they're starting to get some tomatoes. So nothing was really coming on too quickly. These are some jalapenos. The jalapenos did really good, and the chili peppers did really good. I got quite a few of those considering how small my garden was. But mostly, all this stuff is just taking very, very long to produce anything. And we were getting a lot of sun. In times it was actually a little too much sun, and we ended up putting tarps over top of the garden to prevent the sun from damaging it during the day. It was getting hot in the 90s to low 100s at different times during the summer. So there was definitely plenty of sun, but everything came on so late. I noticed some of the early girl tomatoes were growing a little funny with the bottoms looking like this. You amazing gardeners out there probably know exactly what caused it. There's only a few of the early girl tomatoes that turned out like that, so I'm not sure exactly what caused it, but they still tasted really good.